who serves as wonderful. Thank you for pressing the record button. I always forget.
Meeting is being recorded.
Natalie Johnson serves as Associate Director of Capacity Building in our Capacity Building cluster, and she is the Project Director for the Massachusetts Community Violence Intervention Committee Capacity Building Initiative. I'll pass it to Natalie.
Hey, nice to meet you all. I know a lot of you from my work on GBP, but I work across several of the violence prevention projects at HRAI, and I'll pass to my colleague, Jen.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Jennifer Mazdia, go by Jen, she, her pronouns, and I'm a training director within the Health and Racial Equity Cluster at HRAA. And I'm going to pass it over to Bryn.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Bryn. I'm very new with HRIA. Just come on as administrative coordinator for this project, and really excited to meet you all. Yes, I can pass it to Caitlin.
Morning, Caitlin Figueroa, she, her pronouns, and I am a program officer sitting in the community health grant making space. And it's nice to be in space with you all today. I'll pass it back to Natalie.
I'll just have Janine introduce herself as well.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Janine Williams, she, her pronoun series. I am the Senior Grants Associate on our budgets and contracts side of things. And it is such a pleasure to be here with you all this morning. And I will pass it back to Natalie.
Great. Mo, do you want to go over this, the opportunity, and then I'll walk us through the LOI?
Thank you, Natalie. I'm going to do the most dangerous thing I do all day, which is share my screen. Bear with me here. You're either going to get my share or travel plans or both. Okay, there we go. Wonderful. We are Health Resources in Action. We are a public health social change nonprofit based in Boston, working across the country. We're over 60 years old and center equity in all the work that we do. Thus, this project is based in the Health and Racial Equity cluster of our organization. We work across clusters, so you have folks from our capacity building and our grants management and our finance. Part of that is the nature of this project not only requires, but really is going to benefit from having the talents of our entire organization being involved. All right, so this is the Massachusetts Community Violence Intervention Capacity Building Initiative. Natalie Johnson is the project director. She will be your main contact during the LOI process. I serve as Senior Director of Community Engagement at HRIA, and I'll be playing a senior advisor role and connecting as much as I can to the work that we're doing across the country. All right. At the bottom of the screen is our announcement of federal involvement. So this grants program, the Massachusetts Community Violence Intervention Capacity Building Initiative, the long number that they make us put on things, I'm not going to say it, is supported by the Bureau of Justice Assistance of the U.S. Department of Justice as part of a financial assistance award totaling $4 million with 100% funded by BJA, which is the Bureau of Justice Assistance, Department of Justice. This is so you know where these dollars come from. This is a cooperative agreement that we have with the Department of Justice, meaning that they just don't hand over the money. They play with us quite a bit. And thus, we will be making a grant award to you that will also have that kind of involvement where we will be deeply engaged with you throughout the process. All right, let's get into a technology overview. You can mute yourself and screen on and off in the bottom left-hand corner. Please use the chat to list any questions or comments. This award is the Community-Based Violence Intervention and Prevention Initiative. That is the name of the initiative at the feds. It's a program that provides funding to prevent and reduce violent crime in communities by supporting comprehensive evidence-based violence intervention and prevention programs, including efforts to address gang and gun violence, based on partnerships between community residents, local government agencies, victim service providers, community-based organizations, law enforcement, hospitals, researchers, and community stakeholders. The overall goal of this initiative is to reduce violence by persons at high risk for violence. I'm going to say that part again because we want to make sure that we are centering this work on this population. The overall goal of the initiative is to reduce violence by persons at high risk for violence, high risk of being victims as well as doing the violence. You'll hear a whole lot of letters in this. It's like a big alphabet soup. CVI, CVI-PI, DOJ, BJA, OGP, all these things. Just want to make sure that we are level set on what all these things mean. DOJ is always Department of Justice. BJA is the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and within it, the Office of Justice Programs, OJP. Should you become grantees, you'll become very familiar with all of these acronyms, and we want to start that from the beginning. We put forward that this is a capacity building program, and thus we're going to be doing capacity building from the very beginning, providing folks the ability to, in the future, be able to apply for federal grants themselves. We have two primary goals. One is to support organizations building or strengthening their ability to offer the full spectrum of services of violence prevention and intervention. Secondly, to build organizational capacity, deepen and expand reach, and support infrastructure that strengthens organizational operations and broader field sustainability. We're very interested in organizations being able to do this work better, do better intervention, and improve their sustainability and capacity to be able to manage this work and be able in the future to take steps or be able to do grant making with the federal government. The feds themselves are very interested in organizations being able in the future to apply for and operate federally funded grants. So that's one of the pieces of capacity building that we will definitely be engaged with folks throughout this process. So organizations must either currently conduct direct intervention that engages proven risk individuals most likely to be directly impacted by gun violence. So these are folks who are not just at risk, but proven risk, have been engaged in the life and in the work that we're doing, or plan to use these funds to deepen their engagement of proven risk priority populations to reduce gun violence through direct intervention. So you're either already working with proven risk folks doing intervention, or you want to expand or deepen your ability to do that work. Those are the kinds of organizations and programs that we want to engage. The awards, we're going to do 5 $250,000 awards that will be in use. So the duration is from September 2024 to the end of September 2026. That's 25 months if anyone is counting. The expectation is full participation in extensive training, technical assistance, and other capacity building initiatives. 5 awards, 25 months. You'll be able to use the dollars for both your work in doing violence prevention and intervention, but also, and importantly, to build the capacity of the organization to do that work, sustain itself, and improve its capacity to take on these grants in the future. All right. So back end and front end work in the organization. So somebody is out there saying to themselves, what does that mean, Mo? What are you talking about extensive training and capacity building? So what we mean is grantee organizations will participate in training and other activities as a cohort, including leadership and professional development. So leadership training and professional development for staff and for the executives of the organization. So this will include the executive directors, senior program staff, as well as direct program staff. Practitioner and supervisor training, communities of practice, and we'll do some capacity assessments that will help us to understand what folks might need in terms of back-end functions. So expect the folks who participate in your back-end functions, whether that's a part-time bookkeeper, your mom who uses Excel, or you have staff who do your books, your accounting director, expect those folks to also participate. We are going to be providing supports in terms of fundraising and sustainability. That's kind of the long term. In the short term, organizational development, what pieces of your organization need to be developed and improved. Specifically financial management, because part of why folks are eligible or not eligible to take on federal grants and your future success in terms of being able to take on federal grants is often tied to your ability to take in the dollars and spend them wisely and survive the audits that will definitely happen. Human resources and other topics. We'll be doing a capacity assessment that digs internally, but also looks at the work that you do and then providing the opportunity for folks to be a part of that process. Regional and national convening. So if you have not in the past attended the Street Worker Conference, the New England Street Worker Conference that happens every year, we'll be going to it every year. There'll be some national convenings as well. The Department of Justice puts on a national convening for the MCVI-CBI program. We were just at it last week. Oh my God, was that last week, Natalie? Yes. And so the expectation is that we would bring your team to the national convening as well. And other activities. I want to say that out loud because there are some other activities that are part of this. So there'll be access to the Emerging Leaders Program. So we want to find folks who are in your organizations who are emerging leaders and who need to be and should be invested in, and we want to provide opportunity for those investments. We'll also be looking for some folks who will be able to participate in a national CVI Leadership Academy that's run by the University of Chicago. It's a really amazing opportunity. Those folks may or may not be our grantees, but this entire group of folks in our community, so everyone on this call and all the people in the field in Massachusetts will be eligible for that as well. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Part of our work is to also make these opportunities as widely available. So should you be a grantee or not a grantee, there'll be some opportunities for you to benefit from what we're bringing to the state of Massachusetts. All right, so who can apply? Community-based organizations, partnerships and coalitions, municipal bodies, and partnerships with a CBO. So if you're the Office of Violence Prevention or the Public Health Department or the mayor's office and you want to be a part of this, we want you to partner with a community-based organization who the funds will go to. I'm going to say that again. If you're a municipal office and you want to apply for these funds, we want you to partner with a community-based organization who the funds will go through. All right. We are especially, I'm not sure I spelled especially correctly. I'm just going to say that out loud. We are especially interested in small community-based organizations. We use organization really, really lightly. All right. A project, people who are doing good work. Doing this CVI work with deep roots in the community, making powerful impact, but maybe lacking some of the infrastructure or the support to take on large funding opportunities. This is a capacity building grant. So if you happen to be on this call and you're like, we call them mom and pop shops, but it probably is just mom doing this good work, we encourage you to apply because we really want to make some investments in folks who we could help take to scale and develop their back end so that they can take advantage of opportunities in the future. What does that mean? Well, if you have a 501c, great. Massachusetts-based nonprofits or groups with a 501c3 or a fiscal sponsor that work in communities where there is disproportionate impact of gun violence, that's exactly who we're looking for. If your organization does not yet have a 501c3 or doesn't have a fiscal sponsor, we welcome you to complete the LOI and share your support needs within the application. I'm going to say that again. If you don't have a 501c3 and you don't have a fiscal sponsor, Please complete the LOI. We want to be able to support you in this process so that you can be competitive for the grant funds. If you do have a 501c3, great. If you have a fiscal sponsor, great. All of those folks are eligible. All right. Eligible communities, this is where it gets a little bit harder, are Boston, Brockton, Cambridge, Fall River, Haverhill, Holyoke, Lawrence, Lowell, Lynn, New Bedford, Pittsfield, Somerville, Springfield, and Worcester. I'll say them again. Boston, Brockton, Cambridge, Fall River, Haverhill, Holyoke, Lawrence, Lowell, Lynn, New Bedford, Pittsfield, Somerville, Springfield, and Worcester. The work that you're doing has to be in one of these communities. Your organization does not have to be based in that community. We would like for you to demonstrate that you have deep connection in the space that you're doing the work. And we know that organizations are often working in multiple communities. We are looking for you to tell us where the work you're going to be doing is and the capacity that we'd be building with you in your organization, who it would benefit. All right, but these are the eligible communities. Someone out there is wondering if you want to apply and you're not in one of these communities. At this point, we have made this the set of communities that are eligible for these grants, and this is what we've submitted to and been approved by the feds. If for some reason you have a really good argument about why you should be considered because of the disproportionate rates of violence in your community, please complete the LOI and put that in the LOI, and we will take it up with our DOJ friends. I want to open that opportunity for you to convince us, but I also want to be absolutely clear that currently the eligible communities are Boston, Brockton, Cambridge, Fall River, Haverhill, Holyoke, Lawrence, Lowell, Lynn, New Bedford, Pittsfield, Somerville, Springfield, and Worcester. All right. Take a breath. Cool. Non-eligible uses. This is what you cannot use the dollars for. Capital expenditures. Don't make that addition to the house. Can't do that. Proposals by organizations that do not currently work in the violence prevention space. We need folks who are doing this work already. And as we mentioned earlier, you can be looking to expand your work with proven risk folks, but you should be already working in violence prevention. Proposals focused on populations other than proven risk individuals. This is not a program this is not a grant to support that mentoring program for young people in 6th grade, in middle school. There are wonderful opportunities for that. This is not it. I'm going to say that part again, and I'm going to do it as directly as possible. We are looking for folks who are working with proven risk individuals. The vast number of folks who are proven risk are not under 16. Some juveniles are part of this process, and certainly if you are working with juveniles who are proven risk, you should apply. But most young people who are labeled as at risk or thought of at risk are not proven risk. This is not a grant for programs that work with that population. This is a grant for programs that work with populations who are proven risk. They are engaged in violence in their communities. They are or have been incarcerated or arrested for gun charges. They are members of groups, organizations that have long histories of community violence. And we also encourage you to share with us your definition of who proven risk folks are, if there's something more expansive than what we've just shared there. All right. Try to be as direct as possible. We don't want you to waste your time completing this if you're not going to be eligible. And there are other opportunities in the state for working with at-risk young people in the violence space. I would encourage you to look at the opportunities with the Department of Public Health. But this is specifically focused at proven risk individuals. Proposals that solely outline existing activities with no programmatic or operational capacity building element. So if you just want to fund the work that you do, this is not a grant for you. This is really a capacity building grant, and we really want to focus on building that capacity. We know that to be able to focus on capacity, folks are going to need to spend some money on program, and so we want to encourage you to demonstrate for us what that balance is going to be. We don't ask for a budget in the LOI. In the letter of intent, we're really wanting to understand who you are, where you work, what kind of work you do. The RFP process will allow you to demonstrate how you'll spend the balance of those dollars on capacity building and which balance of those dollars you'll spend on more program activities. We'll provide guidance in the RFP process for what that should look like and what the eligible uses are. For now, we're just looking for who you are and the work that you do and where you're doing it. Proposals that focus on criminal justice-based or carceral approaches to gun violence. We are not going to be funding putting people in jail. I'm going to say that part again. Proposals that focus on criminal justice-based or carceral approaches to gun violence. We are not going to be funding putting people in jail. Hospital-based intervention programs are not eligible for this grant. You can be partnered with a community-based organization, but HVIPs will not be the lead organizations, and the balance of the activity should not be in the HVIP space. I'm going to move us forward because I want to make sure we have time to go over the LOI itself, and then we'll have time for questions. So the process for applying, we are in the letter of intent. It was released. We have office hours. This is a letter of intent info session. The LOI is due the 18th of April. It is not required. The LOI is not required, but is strongly recommended. We want to have a sense of who the organizations are, and especially if we don't know you, we want to get to know you. So please complete the LOI. The RFP is in the process of being developed and getting approved by the Department of Justice. So as soon as we get approval from them, we will release the RFP. The due date obviously will be dependent on when they provide us with that space. We intend, is probably the best way to put this, to have the RFP out before the end of June, such that folks are going to have hopefully the month of July or more to do the actual RFP writing, and that we'll have time to review and make decisions such that by mid-August we'd be doing the notice of award. We want everyone to be ready to be involved by September 1st. So if you're thinking about whether this fits into the timeline of your projects or your program or your organizational budget, that is the expected start of work is September 1st. We're going to be running right up to the end date for the DOJ project, so we will most likely not be able to make extensions, no-cost extensions of the funds. So really be thoughtful about your ability to get started and hit the ground running on September 1st. Again, because we're looking at organizations that are already doing this work, we expect that you are ready to go and to be able to participate right away. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to Natalie, who's going to walk us through the LOI process. You can see her shining face there on the page. And I'm going to try to let go of sharing. I'm not sure why that's not doing it. So let's see. Stop share. There we go.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for being here today. It's great to see some folks who we already know, as well as some new faces. So just to share a little bit about our rationale for requesting the optional LOI before releasing an RFP is that we're hoping to allow folks to share their work and share what they're doing in more of a lower lift way before needing to go in and complete a full RFP. So this gives us the opportunity to provide some feedback to you and maybe some capacity building in advance of developing your RFP. Just, if there are questions that come up through the LOI process, or if what you're proposing is out of scope for us, we would have the opportunity to talk about that before you have to move forward and do sort of a higher burden application. Another thing about before we do release the full RFP, we plan to upload some resources on our website, including pretty in-depth profiles of all the eligible cities and some statistics, some health statistics about them. And that will help you hopefully to complete your grants application. We've kind of done a little bit of that work on the front end for you so that you don't need to reinvent the wheel, which is our goal here. So we'll definitely keep you all posted on the timeline for that and when those resources are uploaded, because they hopefully could be of use to you in other spaces as well. So I'm going to start out just going through the template for the letter of intent, and then I'll go into the system and just walk you through that real quick. Can I actually see a show of hands who's actually been on the website and started to look through this before today? All right, great. So a couple folks have been in there. So great. If questions have come up, please just put them in the chat and we'll be sure to answer them during the Q&A portion. And Mo has just put the link in the chat as well. So I will share the screen for the LOI template, which I'll show you where to access on the website as well. So here we are. As you see, it's not super extensive. It should be pretty relatively fast for you. And it should be a maximum of 2 pages, including any tables, images. We have guidance here about font size, Arial 11 with single spacing, double spacing between paragraphs and 1-inch margins. And we just want to get some information like the name of the organization, the address, your geographic community, and your priority population. And these are intentionally in the template open-ended so that you can describe a little bit of your priority population as opposed to needing to check boxes here. And then we want to know in 1 page about your organizational profile, the mission, vision, main activities, the project team, I think emphasizing the organization's experience in violence prevention intervention. Here is a place to emphasize lived experience, which is definitely something that we are prioritizing in this RFP. And this also, it's a place to emphasize that as well. So describing the identities and lived experience of your project team and how that supports the work with the community and population. And over here, we want only in a half a page. We just want to hear a little bit about what you're trying to address. So what's the capacity need of your organization that you're looking to use these funds to address, and some ideas about how you might use this funding to address it. And sort of how this funding and how developing this capacity will impact your work in general and in your community. And then this final question here, we would like you to fill out if it's optional, but this will help us figure out how to prioritize capacity building at this RFP stage. So if your organization needs help to complete the RFP, we really want to know what help would be good for you. Like, what do you need? We want organizations who are small and who might not otherwise be able to apply for federal funding to be able to apply for this grant. And so please complete this if you feel like there are things that you might need help with. And Mo, what are some examples of what we could provide here?
Awesome. So one of the things that we are not able to do is, like, we can't pay for a grant writer for you to help write your grant. So short of that, if you have questions about how to answer things, if you have questions about where to find information, we'll also provide some opportunities to kind of dig deeper into some of these concepts. If folks want to better understand what the violence prevention landscape is, or how to even talk about capacity building, what does that even mean? We'll provide opportunities for folks to understand those terms and be able to put it into their project. Our office hours are times for folks to ask general questions about the process, but also specific office hours for folks who want to discuss the thing that they are thinking about. So even if you're like, right now, I'm not sure how or what capacity building I need, we would want you to schedule with us so that we can have an opportunity to talk to you about the capacity that you have and maybe the capacity that you might need to be able to take those next steps to be eligible in the future. And we, because it's funded by DOJ, there is this desire to make organizations more eligible in the future to apply themselves for federal funding. But we also really want to make sure that folks have what they need to be able to apply for state funding, city funding, philanthropic funding, grants that are put out by DONs and community benefits from hospitals and other processes. So expanding your ability to communicate what your organization does, how it does it, and be able to apply for grants and be able to manage those dollars. All of that is capacity building that we would like to do in this. And so some of the things that might be included in that in the process would be, for example, you have to have a SAMS number to be able to take in federal dollars. Everyone who is going to be in the application process, we're going to walk you through how to get that because we're going to require you to do it to be able to apply. And so there's some of these things that we want to just have folks walk away from this process with that capacity, whether they move forward in the with being a grantee or not. And we also are responsible to this community of practice, this network of community violence intervention programs. And so we're going to be in contact with you, whether you're a grantee or not, about how to continue to build your capacity to do this work well and to be an organization that can build our field. So sorry that wasn't specific enough.
No, that's good. Thank you, Mo. I'm gonna stop sharing here. Please feel free to put any questions in the chat, and then I'll just go into the system to show you how to kind of access how you'll apply. And I might tap Caitlin if there are any additional questions, because she is our master of knowing how to work this tool. So Mo put the link in the chat, but this is where you go to start your application. We have the information we went over just now is all in this on this page here. Please reach out if you have any questions about anything. And then in order to start your application, you'll just click through, start new application in the sidebar. Looks like I'm already logged in, but you'll need to create an account if you don't already have one. And then I am just going to enter a fake tax ID, but you'll want to enter your real one and go past this through OK here. So it'll give you initially the eligibility information here, so you can read that again. Again, if you have any questions, you can always contact us here. You'll want to save your work as you complete the application by clicking Save and Continue. And just noting again that the LOI is not required to apply, but that we really recommend it. So you'll want to list your organization name, your fiscal sponsor organization, if you have a fiscal sponsor organization. If there's no fiscal sponsor, you'll just want to list your legal name and tax ID of your organization again in the section below. If you are not part of an organization with a 501c3, just make a note of that here. So we want to definitely know that. And I'm just gonna enter some information in here. Contact information for the person who's submitting the proposal. That's the person we will contact if we have any questions. And then you'll want to download the LOI template. Have your project title here. To open the document in another tab, this is important. I was working on this earlier. You'll want to right-click this and then open link in new tab. That will just make sure that you don't go away from this page. And then you'll have this here. You'll want to download it and fill that out, just as we went over. And it's gonna upload one here. Going to choose file, and you also have to click upload. Make sure to press save and continue. And then that's it. You'll just want to ensure that you can certify that you've read everything, that you understand the deadline, which is Thursday, April 18th at 11:59 p.m. We're not doing the 5 p.m. thing. And making sure that your organization's senior leadership is aware of and supportive of this application. Then put your initials and you'll be able to review it and submit. So it should be pretty simple, much more simple than the RFP process. But if you have any questions that come up as you're completing this, I know you do have to be able to work this portal. Please reach out because it can be a little bit tricky. And Caitlin or I will help you navigate the tech piece of it. I think we're probably ready to move into the Q&A. So I'll pass it back to Mo to kick us off.
Awesome. We're going to start with the questions that are in the chat, and then we'll open it up for questions from the live audience. So, what if we work in multiple of the eligible communities? Can you work across more than one on this grant? Example, Holyoke and Springfield. Absolutely. We definitely want you to communicate to us the locations that you're working in. If you are working in communities that are not eligible and a mix of eligible and non-eligible, we would want you to center the capacity building for your organization and the direct work in the communities that are eligible. All right. Next question. Is there a link where I can complete the LOI? We've provided that in the link in the chat. You can also find that on the web. What would you all consider a small organization? Good question. So there are some federal standards for small organizations, and they are like bigger than most organizations that you run into. So for us, we think about a small organization as you're under $5 to $10 million. You're a small staff, and the smaller community-based organizations that have a 501c3 might have a handful of staff, and then going into even smaller than that might be organizations that are maybe or groups that maybe are 2 or 3 people who are doing some deep work in the community by engaging community residents and other folks. So we want all folks at all those different levels of small organizations to see themselves as included in this process. All right. What's the expectation of how the funds will be spent on capacity building? Are there trainings you will provide that we pay for, or do we need to research and contract our own on our own? We will be providing a large set of trainings, technical assistance, and other capacity building activities that that grantees will be contracted to participate in. So that'll be written into our award agreement that you are receiving dollars for supporting your program work, receiving dollars that support the people in the organization whose capacities are being invested in. You might hire someone new to help support this, or fund part of a person to help do the internal work, and also the training and capacity building for the folks who are there. It is not our expectation that you would take the dollars that we give you and then go and spend it on other capacity building, but we don't exclude that. So if you are thinking that, hey, there's this other thing we want to do that would help our organization, that should be fine. Again, for the purposes of the LOI, we really want to understand what capacity you're building. In the RFP process, you'll be able to describe how you intend to do that and what you're thinking about doing.
If I jump in there, one thing that we do is an expectation is that you'll support your staff both kind of with time and like transportation resources to be able to attend capacity building. That's just an expectation, I think, of this grant, so that staff feel like they can step away from program in order to attend.
Absolutely. Is a program eligible if they are partially funded through a Massachusetts Office of Victim Assistance and VOCA grants? We believe that you are. We will triple check to make sure that DOJ is comfortable with that. I will say that OVC at the national level were at the DOJ conference and fund some of the folks who we're funded by DOJ, so we don't expect that to be a problem. We'll double check. For at this point, I would say file the LOI. And if there is a question about that, if we receive any information that deviates from what I just shared, we will share that out to everyone. Will the LOI be used as a screening tool, meaning do we need to be invited to submit an RFP based on your view of the LOI? The LOI is not required. It is not a screening tool. It is simply a way for us to understand the organizations that are applying and for us to get a sense of who might be interested in this and what kinds of supports folks might need. We encourage you to complete the LOI. It helps us to understand you as an organization. And the better we know you, the better we are able to evaluate you should you go forward with the RFP.
And Mo, I will say if you're proposing something in the LOI that we know doesn't fulfill the requirements of the grant, we will reach out and give you that feedback just so you don't get to the RFP process without understanding that.
Good point. It is an opportunity to test out what you're thinking you might want to do. And we're not going to hold it against you if you put something on there that we're like, nah, you can't do that. We're just going to say to you, you can't do this. What could you do? And think about what you might want to put into an RFP if you choose to move forward with that. We are a small organization with a staff of 10, and we need to hire staff to collect data on the effectiveness of our restorative justice activities in county houses of correction, and of course, circle trainings in Boston, Lowell, and Brockton. I'm assuming you're asking if that would be an eligible expense. I'm
Yes.
going to say yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, no worries. What type of organizational capacity building would not be eligible? Great question. Anything that violates that list of non-eligible things. So you're like, hey, we want to put in a new wing to our office. We want to buy a bunch of laptops, etc. Blah 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 blah. Capital expenditures are not eligible, so anything that gets really big would be frowned upon. And certainly we don't want you to spend money and then DOJ tell you that you can't. So we'll be working directly with folks on how they expend the dollars and what they expend it on to make sure that all of those expenses that you do are eligible for payment by DOJ. But certainly organizational capacity building, that's about building the skills of staff, would be should be eligible. They typically frown on like extensive travel. You're going to go to that workshop in the Bahamas. They're probably not going to be cool with that. So I would think about, anything that you're building skills in would be something that we could get behind and support. And also we want to provide you the resources to do that if it comes to the assessment that you need. For example, you need to expand and improve the membership of your board. You need to do better community engagement. We want to be able to support you with all of those pieces as well. And we'll try to do that from our funds first before we have you expended from your funds that are grant funded. Will you provide data from targeted cities on at-risk populations? So we're providing profiles of the eligible cities, and in there are some of the information about the violence and risk in there. Not necessarily of the specific populations. And remember, we're thinking about proven risk populations. If you have any of that information, we would love for you to share it. Does the grant allow for training activities to expand the diversity of the population we wish to serve? So could you use these grant funds, and would you building the capacity to serve more folks who are proven risk? That is an eligible use. And so that is something that we could also help you with through this process. Mo and Natalie, they put in our names. Did you see that? That was cute. That's awesome. Can we be provided a copy of the slides? The slide deck will be on the web page. So you'll be able to download it there, as well as a copy of this video as well. So you'll have those on there. Can you email us the computer instructions for the LOI? I'm not sure what we mean, the computer instructions.
Because I'm not a computer person, I got confused when you talked about downloading and uploading, so I just need step by step. If that's
I
possible.
can walk you through it. Just shoot me an email
Okay.
and we'll find a time.
Okay, thank you.
Can we include dollars to train community partners to best work with this population? Also for training more credible messengers to become the reentry navigators. Absolutely, as you're building the capacity of the work of your organization, that could include partners and in broadening the number of people who are able to do the work. So that's on the one side of the capacity to actually do the CVI work. We're also want to make sure that you're putting in and thinking about the capacity of your organization, so the back end pieces as well. Include dollars to train community partners to best work. Yeah, sorry, we just did that one. We currently work with trafficking victims and the immigrant community. I just want to clarify this falls within the population you consider eligible. Great question. We're really thinking about gun violence in this space. So to the extent to which the trafficking and immigrant communities overlap with gun violence and community, that would be an eligible group to be considered in this process. I think you'd really want to make the case for that. There is no not small enough. So if you're here today and you work in this space, I would encourage you to complete the LOI. We are especially interested in small organizations, but we recognize that organizations in the state doing this work, all of them should be eligible for this opportunity. All right. What's the approximate weekly, monthly time commitment for staff attendance of trainings over the course of the grant? We're still developing that, and of course, it's really going to depend on the assessment that we do with your individual organization. I would say to you that you're going to be using some of the grant to pay for staff to be part of the capacity building. So the expectation is that you'd be making that time available, and in fact, we'd be paying for those folks to be part of that capacity building. So I expect that you would have folks being paid to be a part of the capacity building that we are going to be making available. And that does create some burden. We know that, so we want to be thoughtful about that. I can't give you an answer on the specific time commitment because that will vary widely based on what the needs of your organization are and what specific capacity building you need. I'll give you for example. Say that your organization needs fiscal management support, need to know how to segregate dollars, not blend dollars. We may spend a lot of time up front setting up the systems with you, and then have weekly check-ins, and then get to monthly check-ins to ensure that the things are flowing in the right direction. That's a space where there may be a lot up front and then a little bit, kind of on a regular basis going out. If your capacity building is around board management or HR, those things maybe are done over time, and we're checking in on a monthly basis and then quarterly basis, etc. It will really vary by what the capacity is. Our cohorts, however, will be monthly and quarterly, and so we'll provide some of that information in the RFP process. I still would encourage you to complete the LOI so that we get to know you and see what the kinds of things that you're working on, so we can get excited about what you want to do, and then we'll have opportunity to kind of expand on this through the RFP process. How is the money awarded? Do we submit receipts before we get reimbursed, or do we receive certain amounts ahead of time? Great question. Great question. So we're working on two possibilities here. We would like to be able to create agreements where we can give you some money up front and then have milestones by which folks are receiving payment. But these are federal dollars as well, and so there will be a need to provide back end for all of the dollars that you're expending. Depending on what you already have, we may be able to involve you in systems that will allow us to receive your documentation and make payment on a regular basis. Part of our ask in this LOI process is to understand the capacity needs that you have so that we can design a capacity building process that fits what you need. If you are a fairly mature organization that segregates its dollars, has its own back end, you can expect an agreement that would provide you the opportunity on a up to quarterly basis to be reimbursed. And we still want to be able to provide you some dollars up front. And we're working on that part because we know many organizations, that kind of reimbursement scheme is difficult for them to take it, to do a lot of the work, to put out all of the money and then expect that reimbursement. On our end, we want to be able to do this as efficiently as possible. And so we want to create with you those systems that will allow you to submit receipts, put in invoices, and be paid as quickly as possible on a as regular process as possible. The LOI template on the website does not seem to be working. Okay. Renee, I'm going to ask you to message Natalie directly about what it is that is not working, and so she can help you with that. I've exhausted the questions in the chat. I want to open it up to folks for live questions, and I'll just ask you to raise your hand if you have a question. And please try to make it a direct question because we've got about 7 minutes left. So any questions? Yes, go ahead, Marie.
It seems, if I'm understanding correctly, that yes, you want to know what our vision and our activities are, but you're also ultimately interested in us building the capacity to be able to write grants or federal grants independently. And am I correct in that assumption?
We're interested in you having the capacity to operate federal grants, not necessarily the writing part of it. We're interested in organizations being able to receive federal grants in the future, and that's both about the operational pieces of what you do and your fiscal management. So we definitely want to support that, but we also want you to be able to do good CVI work. Appreciate that. Thank you, Marie. Trent. Go ahead. We can't hear you. Unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, my question is this strictly a nonprofit movement, or can you incorporate this if you're an existing business but you want to expand your business by making a program that you have outreach for returned citizens and elderly programs and so forth and so on?
Good question. The dollars will have to flow through a 501c3 or a fiscal conduit. So I would encourage, if you are a for-profit business, I would encourage you to partner with a nonprofit that the dollars can go through.
Thank you very much. I can do that.
Earl?
Yeah. So when you say evidence-based, kind of what does that standard mean for you all?
Good stuff. Thank you. We believe in the evidence that our communities are putting forward in the good work that they do. If you are doing an evidence-based approach that is, lauded and supported by the feds, that's great. If you're doing what we call community evidence, like you're doing it and you can show good ideas and promising practices, we'll take that as well. We recognize that the field does not have a limited set of ways of doing this work, and we want to highlight and expand what that looks like. So please bring your best practices and ideas of things that you are doing and make that something that we're aware of. Evidence-informed or promising practices. Thank you. Natalie has much better hold of the language on this than I do. Other questions? Trent, is that another hand?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did you say partner with a 5013 organization?
501c3, so a community-based
C3.
organization. Yeah, C3, a 501c3.
Okay.
Any nonprofit organization in your community that is doing this work that you would be, if you want to apply through, in partnership with them, if you are a for-profit.
Okay.
Other questions? No, somebody has something and they're like, should I ask it? Should I not ask it? You can put it in the chat. You can if you're like, I don't want everybody to know I'm asking that, you can chat it directly to me and I won't put you out there. Nancy.
Okay, so let's say for some reason we don't get to complete the LOI, how would we learn about when the RFP is released?
So this website will also still be up, and we'll put up the information. And when we release the LOI, when we release the RFP, we will send it out to everyone who registered for this as well, and anybody who's been part of our process in our network, and anyone who received the announcement of this. But I'm going to encourage you to complete the LOI. I would rather you complete the LOI shabbily than not do it. We want to know what the landscape is. We want to know what the good ideas are. We want to get to know y'all so that we can give the best review of you if you do end up submitting an RFP. Trent, is that another question?
What's the acronym for RFP?
Request for proposals. Thank you. Appreciate that. A request for proposals is a formal document that asks the questions that folks will need to complete to be eligible to propose what they want to do for the funding that's available. Earl.
Do you anticipate doing another info session before the release of the RFP or at some point afterwards?
So we'll do a info session after the RFP is released, probably in proximity to that release date, but well before it's due. Other questions? I know we're coming up on time here. So I don't see any other hands. Earl is, sorry, Trent, is that another hand? No? Okay. Natalie Johnson is the project director for this. Please direct all of your questions to Natalie, and we will post the video and the slide deck on the site. And as we are answering questions, we'll also be developing and publishing a frequently asked questions. So anything that we answered here today, plus anything that we are answering in subsequent conversations, will be available to everyone on that site. So please continue to check on it. On the 18th at 11:58, we'll be sitting there wondering who has submitted or not. So please don't wait till the last moment. Please submit the LOI as soon as you can. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your days. If you have questions, please reach out to Natalie directly.
Thank you, everybody. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you.
Team, I'm gonna give you a call on Teams.
I'm
All
just
right.
I'm just typing a last minute question. So
Oh yeah, we'll stick around then.
oh, okay. Well, our organization works does restorative justice circles in county houses of correction, and like Norfolk, for instance, that's not one of the towns targeted, but obviously some of the residents of that facility may come from targeted communities. So do we have to identify that one by one? Or can we just say that we
It's a
serve?
good question.
Yeah, because we're in almost all of the county houses of correction.
Are you doing any work outside the county houses of correction?
Oh, yes, in Boston and Brockton and Lowell, yeah.
I would focus your application on the work that you do in the eligible communities and reference the work that you're doing in those other spaces. But again, we want to support the capacity of organizations to work in these communities.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, folks, have a good one.
Thanks,
We're going to
everybody.
close down here.